Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending on where you are. And I hope that even our participants from diaspora are able to hear me. Rwanda Development Board is excited and honored to welcome you to this important session of roundtable discussion, discussing the contribution of diaspora in the economic development of Rwanda. Thank you so much for accepting our invitations, and we are so grateful for our partners, Minafit and others who have worked together with us to organize this event. I am Edward Kados. I'll be moderating this conference. Let me set the stage by putting this topic of our discussion today into context. I think you very well know that migration is a natural and inevitable human phenomenon, and its contribution to the development of origin countries is evident and has been documented. Rwandan government values and prioritizes Rwandan communities abroad and their role in the economic development of Rwanda. Last year, if I could consider the data of last year, from International Organization for Migration, we had an estimation of 513 Rwandans who are living abroad. In terms of remittances inflows to Rwanda, remittances increased from 3 million in 1980 to 274 million USD in 2020. Representing 2.6% of our GDP. My colleagues and I last year, we conducted a study on the role of skilled migrants to the economic development of sub-Saharan Africa. We found that skilled migrants, that's diaspora talents, contribute to an average of 2.6% of GDP in sub-Saharan African countries. If we customize these findings to Rwanda, we found that Rwandan skilled migrants contribute 2.6% of our GDP. Earlier study I had done, I found out that diaspora remittances contribute to poverty reduction, increasing savings, human capital development outcomes, investments, and business significantly to those, more than those, for those who receive remittances than those who don't receive remittances in Rwanda. And this impact is very strong in area for those households who are living in the lower income distribution in Rwanda, implying that our remittances from diaspora do contribute to bridging income inequalities. In these conferences, in fact, we want to ponder on the following questions. The underlying, we want to discuss how can we accelerate the contribution, the development impact of our diaspora talents back home? How do we bridge existing information and data gaps? How can we leverage on the existing political will and strong policy framework to harness the contribution of diaspora in the economic development of Rwanda? The good thing I'm excited of is that we have a very well-grounded panel that will help us to address these questions. So for the purpose of ground rules, I only have one. In this roundtable discussions, I would invite everyone that if you wanted to raise a question or a comment, to write in the chat box, and your question or comment will be picked up. Without further ado, allow me to take this opportunity to welcome Mrs. Elodie Lucera, the Chief Skills Officer at the Rwanda Development Board, to deliver her opening remarks. Over to you, Elodie.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edward Kodozi. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to you all, depending, of course, on where you are. My name is Elodie Lucera, as the moderator has mentioned, and I would like to really thank you all for the great participation in this live conference on engaging Rwandan diaspora talents in the development of Rwanda. In particular, warm welcome to the panelists. We have really great panelists and our esteemed Rwandan living abroad that have joined from different countries. In fact, it would be great if you posted in the chat box the country or city from which you reside. And all in all, we're very happy to have you on, and we're hoping for a very collaborative and interactive session with you today. As the Chief Skills Office, this conference was planned with you, Rwandan living abroad, in mind. We wanted to interact with you on how your skills are critical, your talent is critical to contribute back to the country's development. And maybe for those of you who may not know, just to briefly share with you a brief background about who we are as the Chief Skills Office under RDB and what we do. RDB under the Chief Skills Office, or vice versa, the Chief Skills Office under RDB has the mandate to align skills development with labor market demands. And the Chief Skills Office has the mandate to provide effective oversight and coordination of the relevant stakeholders in skills development and employment promotion ecosystem. So this positions us to be the apex body that coordinates relevant stakeholders and initiates innovative ways in skills development and employment promotion. In fact, with this session, we'll be very happy to hear from you what initiatives we can look into and what other interventions you have in mind. But just to begin with, I'll touch on some that we work on the Chief Skills Office. We have been informed by the National Skills Development and Employment Promotion Strategy. And if some of you may not have read it or know about it, the moderator will help us to post it on the chat box just for you to have a better idea about what the strategy is about. And this strategy has three main pillars. The first pillar is on skills development. The second pillar is on employment promotion. And then the third pillar, which is in particular very important for this session today, is matching skills with labor market needs. And under the matching pillar, among other interventions, we implement a global talent and opportunities program, which focuses on labor mobility and diaspora or Rwandans living abroad talents. So it's through this pillar that we implement, among others, the following interventions. I'll mention a few, and then during the discussions, we'll hear more about those. One is on developing the Rwanda skills database, or data on Rwandans living abroad, but even the Rwandans who are here locally. So the National Skills Database is one tool that we use. We also have a job portal called Kora. If you don't know about it, you could just visit the Rwanda Development website, and under the Skills tab, you'll learn more about the Kora job portal. We hope to see many more employers on there than job seekers. We also have another tool called the Labor Market Information System. And all these are tools that help us to improve and to harness labor market matching and access to the available skills in Rwanda. The skills database serves as a labor analytical tool for statistical purposes to have information on Rwandan university graduates. And the Kora job portal serves to register job seekers and match them to employment opportunities, training opportunities, and other entrepreneurial opportunities. We also have the support of potential employment opportunities in collaboration with private staffing agencies here in the country, as well as public employment service centers. There's one in Kigali, there's one in Musanze, and one in Huye. And these just ensure that there's outreach of employment services in order to pathway graduates in employment opportunities. So we do partner with the staffing agencies as well as the employment service centers. Next, I wanted to also touch on our partnership with Minafit and Iom. And this partnership helps us to map and engage Rwandan talents abroad. And we are also devising possible strategies and interventions in order to interact more with Rwandans living abroad, and to also have you contribute back with your talents and expertise. The last intervention that I would like to touch on is on conducting skills audits. And this is an initiative that we're still working on, and we have basically worked on skill snapshots, which will determine the skill gaps in the country that could be bridged by mapping out what the skill gaps are in the different sectors, and then what is required in order to bridge the skill gaps. So currently we're phasing it out into different sectors, and we have currently just looked at the tourism and hospitality sector and hoping to expand to other sectors. With regards to engaging Rwandans living abroad, the Chief Skills Office is working on different initiatives to understand and respond to the diaspora needs in the following ways. One, by creating, we have created the Rwandan Presidential Scholars Forum. And right before the pandemic, actually, we had a couple of sessions with these presidential scholars. It's a network that connects Rwandan scholars abroad to economic opportunities here in Rwanda. We have also hosted 3 networking events aimed at bringing together professionals from the diaspora who have returned home and helping them find opportunities here back in the country. We have also facilitated in internships and job placements through partnerships with recruitment agencies and employment service centers across the country. So these are just a couple of the initiatives and others that help us to prevent talent loss and to bridge the skills gap, as well as to build a capable Rwandan labor force required by the market. To gain talent, we all know the contribution of Rwandans living abroad goes beyond the skills and expertise. There is technology, there is innovation, there is also remittances that you all transfer back. And we know your role in promoting investments and business linkages, among others. All these resources are required to contribute to the development of our country. However, all these potential initiatives are affected by the lack of information on both sides, on your side as well as on our side, and data to leverage and harness the contributions of Rwandans living abroad, resources in the development of Rwanda. So, for instance, we as institutions in charge of harnessing and facilitating diaspora talents to contribute lack different information about your needs, your data to inform policies and strategies. And then on the flip side, the Rwandans living abroad also lack credible information about opportunities and how you can even contribute back in the different sectors. So we're very happy to have a diverse team of panelists who will touch on their respective sectors and share some opportunities that could also be of benefit to you and that you can leverage on. So another thing is that in order to address this paradox, the Rwanda Development Board, in collaboration with Minafit, devised different policies and interventions geared towards engaging diaspora talents and to bridge the information gap to improve exchange and interaction as we address the challenge of data. So as mentioned in the start, this conference aims as a platform for sharing credible information about opportunities back home and how you can leverage on them and understanding your needs and expectations. Before I hand it over back to the moderator, I wish to once again extend appreciation to you all who have joined this conference today. We're hoping to have many more of these series to touch on different sectors and to expand on different topics. And I would like to really thank Minafit and the Rwandan Diplomatic Missions Abroad for collaborating with us to organize this event. We do treasure our continued collaboration with you to engage our Rwandans living abroad and just to have an interactive session. I also would like to recognize and appreciate our partners LinkedIn, represented by Mr. Stewart here today. Hello, Stewart. LinkedIn is our partner actually with whom we're working on to address the problem on labor market information gap and the skills mismatch. So this partnership enables us to look into the local labor market as well as to improve our labor market analytics. And so we encourage you to join LinkedIn if by any chance you haven't, but I'm sure all of you are on LinkedIn by now. At this point, I take this opportunity to officially open the roundtable discussion that we're going to have. And I wish that you could please type in your questions, your comments, or any contributions you may have in the chat box, the city, the country you're coming from, And we hope this can be a very constructive and fruitful interaction for both yourselves and us. And we're looking forward and expect an open discussion that seeks to inform and educate both sides so that no one is left behind in terms of contributing back to the same cause in terms of promoting and developing our country. So I now will hand it over back to you, Dr. Kadozi, and I hope that we can have a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Elodie, and thank you, the participants. Without further ado, I will be happy to welcome the speakers to deliver their opening remarks. As Elodie highlighted, in fact, we selected these panelists based on the potentials their sectors and institutions present to our Rwandan diaspora for the development of Rwanda. So without further ado, I'm happy to welcome Mrs. Sandrine Uwimbabazi, Director of Rwandan Community Abroad at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation, to deliver her opening note and remarks. And Sandrine, are you there?
Yes, Dr. Kadozi. Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sandrine. You're welcome. Wow, good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I would like firstly to greet everybody and hi, RDB CSO, Chief Skills Office. I would like to thank you so much, and your team to have organized this wonderful webinar that gathers Rwandans globally around the world. And I would like to greet everybody who are here with us today in this amazing, after 20 minutes, we are now almost at 190 people. So this is very, very exciting. Thank you very much, Elodie, for your opening remarks. And for me, I would like to say that we are so happy to join you. And today we would like to hear more about how you see the opportunity, how you find the development of the country, how you want us to work as together. So let me just give you a brief intro about our office, our department, what we do here at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation. So as the moderator, Dr. Kadozi, just mentioned, my name is Sandrine Uwimbabazi Maziateke. I'm the director of the Rwanda Community Abroad RCA department here at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation here in Rwanda. So our department actually works on a daily basis with Rwandans living abroad. So we have two desks, a consular services desk that works mainly on legalizing different documents, and so we provide services to Rwandans and Rwandans living abroad. So national documents, power of attorneys, and so many certificates. So we provide good services. We open Monday to Friday. So please feel free, if you have a document to be signed, a document that comes from abroad, from the embassy, or a document that comes from the Ministry of Justice, we are happy to give you a good service. And another desk we have is a mobilization desk. I think the part of the event of today we're going to talk about, it's mainly works with that desk. So what we usually do, because as you know, the government knows that the important role of the diaspora Rwanda community living abroad can play in different areas, so such as financial, private, public investment, trade, so good governance, image building. So we all, with other stakeholders, government institutions, we work together on how we can leverage, how we can bridge the gap. We know that we have many Rwandan communities living abroad. We have a young generation who were born, who went to Rwanda, who left Rwanda a long time ago, and who are there, who knows that they have a country. So our job is to tell them what's there for them, what's the opportunities that catered for them. So in order for that, so we work with our embassies. So our channel of communication is via mostly with the embassies and high commissions in order to reach out to the Rwandan community living abroad. So we encourage them to get involved to participate in the national strategy for transformation programs. So many of those programs, some of those programs, I think LOD mentioned them. So let me just go say a couple. So for example, as you know, there is a Rwanda Day. Rwanda Day, it's a big event graced by the President of the Republic, where he meets many Rwandans living abroad, and we talk about the political, socio-economic of development of the country. That's where Rwandans, they get to have that big honor to meet the President of the Republic and also other institutions to talk about the country's development and achievements. And also for the youth, we have other programs, Itorero Indangamirwa and Itorero Urungano, that we worked with the Ministry of Youth and Culture. So these Torero are like courses that are given usually in July for Itorero Indangamirwa in summertime, and in December, Itorero Urungano, where youth, they come and enjoy to learn about the narratives, the history of our country. So, and also to learn where the country's achievement. So this is another program. So we have so many programs in homecomings that we are also planning that are in the pipelines. Maybe what I can say that we're gonna go through during the conversation. I'm not going to take so much time for myself, but there are so many programs that we want to emphasize, especially in the skills and knowledge transfer. I think the reason why we're here, we want to discover your big talents. I know that you guys have been studied, you have so many great initiatives that you may want to share. And also opportunities that you may want to know, that how the office of the Chief Skills Office can also assist via Minafit. So, and of course, your embassy. So some of them have been started. Maybe I can mention some that we're working with the IOM, diaspora engagement in the Tibet in the health sector. There was a mapping exercise that was done in a few countries in Europe, but we're trying to develop the mapping exercise in the whole Europe and also in the America region, so USA and Canada, in order so we can be able to find out also how our Rwandan community, our Rwandans living abroad, how do they want to contribute? What's their skills? What their knowledge? So Elodie mentioned about a database. So this is going to help us to create a nice, an effective database for all these professionals through these mappings. So I would really, really encourage you, once you see a campaign of mapping, please join. Don't worry, we all work together as stakeholders. We work with our embassies. If you have a question about it, just please join. Just if you have a question, if you have an initiative you would like to give, just don't hesitate. So in the mobilization, we also do emphasize on the image building and protecting our country. As you know, there are many, there are some people, in the social media, other people who talk about the, negationism for genocide against the Tutsi. So our Rwandan community abroad, wherever they are, they cannot let people talk about nonsense, change our history, our path. So we are there to talk the real truth. So this is another part also of the mobilization we do. We want to create an awareness, especially for the young generation, to learn, so it will never happen again. So maybe I will let the moderator introduce other panelists, And from further discussions with you today, we want to interact with you, to have a good interactive conversation with you. So don't hesitate to just ask a question if you need some clarification or details. So from maybe I may stop from here, and I would like to thank you very much again. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandrine. Thank you so much for your good remarks. In fact, if it doesn't cause any problem, we could as well call you the ambassador of Rwandan communities abroad. Yeah, thank you. Without further ado, I'll be happy to welcome Mrs. Helen Foss, the Chief of Missions in IOM. But before she starts her opening remarks, I wish to thank her for the good and long-term collaboration in this journey. I remember the first mapping exercise Sandrine talked about was way back in 2009, of which I participated in, and it was supported by IOM with other good initiatives. Mrs. Ellen, thank you so much, and you are welcome to deliver your opening remark.
Thank you so much, Edward, and thank you so much, Chief Skills Officer and RDB, of course, for inviting IOM to this event and giving me, as the Chief of Mission, the opportunity to speak with the Rwandan diaspora. Just to start a bit, if people doesn't know about IOM, IOM, or the International Organization for Migration, we were established back in 1951, and we are the leading intergovernmental organization in the field of migration. And we are also a UN agency since 2016. And here in Rwanda, we work closely with the government on a number of migration-related issues, like border management, migration and health, refugee resettlement, counter-trafficking, labor migration, and of course, diaspora initiatives. And as Edward mentioned, we remember back in 2009, and this was before my time in Rwanda, but IOM Rwanda's current engagement with diaspora started back in 2018, when we, in close collaboration with Minafit, conducted a diaspora mapping exercise in 4 countries in Europe. And this was Germany, Netherlands, UK, and Belgium. And this exercise aimed at providing an insight into the diaspora's socio-economic profiles, skills, and assessing the capacity and interest to participate in the development process in Rwanda. And the findings of this exercise were extremely positive. And we realized that there is a high interest among the diaspora to be part of a different development initiative here in Rwanda. And following, these positive findings of the mapping exercise, 2 diaspora engagement initiatives were developed and are currently being implemented. And one initiative is within the health sector, and this the initiative project is implemented in close collaboration with Minafit and Ministry of Health. And this project intends to engage qualified Rwandan health professionals living in Europe who wish to transfer their skills and knowledge to the Rwandan health sector. And the second initiative is to support the TVET, the technical and vocational education training sector. And this project is implemented in close collaboration with Minafit, Ministry of Education, and Rwanda Polytechnic. And this project will, of course, address the needs of the TVET sector in Rwanda. And here we are looking for highly qualified Rwandan professionals who live in Europe and who will conduct training of trainers to TVET professors and students here in Rwanda. And as some of you might know, we have already received the first round of application for these 2 initiatives. But please, keep checking our social media, Twitter, Facebook, etc., because we are shortly going to launch the second round And this is probably going to happen now in the beginning of March. And just to clarify a couple of logistic issues. So if you would be selected for one of these initiatives, you will be provided with the following. We will pay for your return flight ticket, all transportation in Rwanda, accommodation, you will receive an allowance, and you will receive an insurance. And we will, of course, also cover all kinds of COVID-19 related costs, such as testing, hotels, self-quarantine, etc. And these two initiatives are very, very flexible because, I mean, if you live in Europe, you might not have a time to come back for a long time. But so I said this is a very, very flexible initiative. So we are talking about minimum 1 month or maximum 6 months. So this is very much up to you, what suits you, 1 month or maybe even 6 months. And as the director of Minafit mentioned, we will also quite soon, later this spring, conduct a diaspora mapping in US. And we are also hoping to do a diaspora mapping in Canada later this year. And once these two mapping exercises are conducted, we are hoping, of course, to also implement different engagement initiatives for skilled Rwandans living in US and Canada. So I'm really looking forward to answer any questions you have to IOM, and it's really an honor for me to be part of this event today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen, and thank you for your good remarks. I think now our diaspora talents are able to hear how they can use the available opportunities to contribute back. And without further ado, I'll be happy to welcome Dr. Ivan Cuadrille. Dr. Ivan is the Chief Operational Officer at Rwanda Mines, Petroleum and Gas Board, and will help me to address some of the questions I encountered in 2010 when I was in Beijing meeting Rwandan students and graduates that were in Beijing. Someone asked me a tough question, and asked me, I am a graduate in mining and geology. And mining and geology has not grown up in Rwanda. So how will I transfer my skills back to Rwanda? And I'm happy that mining sector and geology is one of the emerging sectors in Rwanda, and they are contributing largely to our economy. So Dr. Ivan, the floor is yours, and you will help us to address some of these questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edwards. I'm Dr. Ivan Cuadrille. As he said, I'm the CEO of Rwanda Mines, Petroleum and Gas Board. First of all, I want to say that I'm also from the diaspora, and I spent now 14 years back in the country. So I will be in a better position to advise somehow, especially for scientists, geologists, chemists, physicians who are online later when they will ask some questions. So let me come back to the institution. Rwanda Mines, Petroleum and Gas Board is an equivalent of the Ministry of Mines, Petroleum and Gas in some countries. So we implement national policies, law and strategies related to mining, petroleum and gas. And we are conducting research in geology, mines, petroleum, and we are also in charge of doing exploration of new resources in those three pillars: mines, petroleum, and gas. We are also in charge of supervising and monitoring public and private entities carrying out mining, trade, and value addition of minerals operation in the country. On that component, this is where I can take time to try to answer on the question you asked. In Rwanda at the moment, mining is developing, but also not only mining, gas and petroleum also, we are we are at a very nice pace. And one of the challenges we have can be answered by this kind of platform we have today. The biggest challenges we have at the moment is skills. And most of those skills, we can find them in the diaspora. And the platform set up by the Chief Skills Office in RDB will really help as a bridge between the needs we have in the sector and the skills existing in the world on different continents. So the sector needs geologists, especially on the side of exploration and mining. But those are not the only pillars we have in mining. We have also processing, where now we started having some industries developed in the country. We have a gold refinery. We have a tin smelter running already, and we have some smelting processes for coltan and other minerals under construction. Apart that, rough minerals like 3Ts, we have also what is called precious stones. And Rwanda embarked on a process to start adding value also by cutting and polishing those stones. And later on, we are targeting to start producing jewelries in the country and exporting finished products. So in this long process, where we want to add value and the country export finished products, we need skills. And most of those skills are really in the diaspora, and Rwandans who have those skills, sometimes they have the gap of connecting to the market. So RDB Chief Skills Office will help a lot in linking us and the diaspora. And we are ready to give you more information as we progress via our website. You can visit, there is an email, info at rmb.gov.rw. But you can also take our contacts via LinkedIn. We are open to connect you to the companies existing in the country, to the skills needed to make sure that instead of hiring expatriates from outside, we would be happy to recruit Rwandans in the diaspora and give you that platform to come and enjoy your country. So I was one of you some years ago, 14 years ago. I started coming back to Rwanda using a program called MIDA. It was a program of IOM at that time. And then that's how I started coming back on short missions. And I ended up coming and working in private sector. And after 14 years, I'm now the Chief Operations Officer of Rwanda Mines, Petroleum and Gas Board. So I'm happy to exchange more later. Thanks to RDB for organizing this. Thanks, Edward. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Ivan, and I'm excited to hear that you are a part of MIDA. So great. Yeah, and I hope that more are going to come up in the form of MIDA. Later on, maybe we shall explain that in detail. So without further ado, I'm happy to welcome Mrs. Otanse Mudenje, who is the Chief Operation Officer at Rwanda Finance Limited. Rwanda Finance Limited is one of the new emerging parastatal body that is trying to modernize and promote financial innovations and investments in Rwanda. So, Otanse, the floor is yours, and I'm excited to hear from you.
Thank you, Dr. Cuadrille, and thank you even more so for at least wishing me well in terms of the marriage and the proposals. So thank you for that. So first off, afternoon to you, and good afternoon to my esteemed colleagues on the panel and everyone who has joined us on this webinar. I hope you're all doing well. I'd like to thank the Chief Skills Office for inviting me on this panel to share my experience, but also the exciting opportunities that are coming up in the financial sector. I too, like Dr. Ivan, I'm diaspora and have been working now in Rwanda for about 8 years. So I'm very excited to be able to listen to the questions and hear the feedback and interact with my fellow professionals on this. As you mentioned, my name is Hortense Mudenge. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Rwanda Finance. We are a private agency established by the government of Rwanda to promote our local financial sector. But more importantly, we also have the bigger task of developing and positioning Rwanda into a regional financial service hub. Our vision is for Rwanda to become an attractive financial destination for regional and international investors operating in Africa. So we really do have a great task ahead of us, and we're excited to be able to share more on this. So currently what we're doing at Rwanda Finance, if I can just shed more light on this, we are working with key government and private sector stakeholders to put in place the needed policies, regulations, and tax incentives to attract more financial institutions and investors into Rwanda. And secondly, I believe a topic of interest actually for this discussion today, we are working to upskill our local financial sector and to build a pipeline of highly qualified financial professionals. So one of the challenges, quite similar to what Dr. Ivan mentioned for our sector, is scarcity of skilled professionals. And to give more context, I believe, to this so that we can understand where we're coming from, currently we have about 34,000, or rather 38,000 professionals working in the financial sector, according to the labor market survey that was released last year. And this really represents about 2% of the people who are employed as a whole in Rwanda. And when you dig deeper, we have about 60% of them who actually are university, who hold a university degree or a higher level professional certificate. And now when you go into more of the specialized skill sets, for example, like accounting or financial management, that require someone to have more international professional qualifications, you find that there are about 2% represented currently in Rwanda. So, and it really pales when you compare it to other financial centers that we do want to be able to collaborate and emulate, such as Mauritius, where you find levels of enrollment of over 47% qualified professionals. So we have a long journey and mile ahead, but we are excited. We are very ready to get this going. The financial sector as a whole has also made clear targets for the number of jobs that it wants to increase. So we are excited about this, and there are great opportunities actually to be filled with that. Now, coming back to us and what we're doing in attracting and positioning Rwanda as a financial center, we are attracting and facilitating investors to set up investment funds and fund management operations here in Rwanda. We are also attracting multinational corporations to be able to establish holding companies here, as well as firms involved in global trading and fintech. And so as with any investor who comes actually to work here in Rwanda, they will be setting up physical offices, and they'll be looking to recruit professionals to be able to manage the offices and even their operations, both local and within the region. So we are anticipating there will be a great deal of interest for highly specialized and qualified professionals in tax advisory or planning services, if I could say. A lot of accountants and people with expertise in investment management, as well as corporate lawyers and bankers who at the end of the day are the foundation of our ecosystem. And so it's really critical for us at this particular time to be able to reach out and connect with different professionals. For the long term, we will be upskilling our local sector, but in the meantime, in the short term, we're really very much targeted and interested to reach out to the diaspora, especially professionals who are in these fields, to be able to share more information with them about this, to be able to connect them to potential employers, especially the investors now who we are seeing coming into our jurisdiction. And in partnership also with the Chief Skills Office, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as the International Organization for Migration, we really want to put the financial sector front and center to be a part of the process in terms of skills mapping, in terms of creating the network events for us to be able to share the information, in terms of creating events around awareness and job matching opportunities. We're also looking to create a skills group of professionals where we'll be sharing more information on a regular basis on our progress and how they can reach out to us. I was seeing also some of the questions coming in, very excited to be able to share more information. But we have created, you can reach out to us on different channels really, but we have created an email group in term, and it's really skills@rfl.rw, where if you want to learn more or you seek to give us a question or comments or feedback on this, you can easily reach out to us or through our social media handles on LinkedIn and Twitter. We are very active there at Kigali_IFC. So very happy and excited to hear from you all and engage in this conversation. And I'll stop there. And over to you, Kadozi. Thank you.
Thank you, Tans. And I'm happy that now people have started getting information that we wanted, in fact, to share. So let me welcome, says Tessie Lusagala, who is the Managing Director of Kigali Innovation City. I think Tessie, if she was be happy, we should have, and she's able to get more IT innovators today who could subscribe. She could be happy to take them off. As far as I know that she's struggling to get talents from abroad. Tessie, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Edward, and thank you, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here and to be engaging with people from all over the globe and to see the interest that we have from the diaspora. So as Edward said, my name is Tessie Lusagala. I'm the Managing Director of Kigali Innovation City. Kigali Innovation City is part of Rwanda's vision to become a knowledge-based economy. And it's a key pillar to deliver on that vision. So our mission is really centered around nurturing the tech and innovation ecosystem to serve both Rwanda, but also position Rwanda as a Pan-African hub for tech. So we do this in two ways. The first one is we are building a technology park here in Rwanda. And the government has partnered with Africa 50, which is an African-focused infrastructure platform to build out the city. And so far, we boast 4 anchor universities. So Carnegie Mellon University Africa and the African Leadership University are 2 universities that are already on site. And then we have one other one that's under construction, which is it's under the University of Rwanda. So they're building a center for biomedical engineering and e-health, and will launch they'll launch a program that's graduate level that's focused on building skills in biomedical engineering, e-health, and rehabilitation for Rwandans and also for East Africans. We also have a 4th university, which is currently located in Rwanda, which is, but not yet at KIC, which is the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. And so that traps our 4 universities. Now, for the rest of the site, we want to, provide infrastructure for tech companies, for startups, for really, if you provide a place where anyone who's interested in tech and innovation can find a community of other people who are working on similar initiatives, but also have easy access to talent that's being developed in KIC. Our second mandate, where we work very closely with the Ministry of ICT and Innovation, RDB, and other agencies, is on strengthening the environment for tech and innovation more broadly. And to be able to do that, it's very important, like Dr. Edward said, that we have a critical mass of talent, whether it's technical talent or managerial talent. You need it at all levels, from junior talent to senior levels, if we want to really achieve our vision to become a knowledge-based economy, and to do it in the time that that is set out by some of our by NST1, which is 2024, and Vision 2050. And I think when we look at what the opportunities are that diaspora can currently exploit, I would put it in two buckets. The first one is for the real estate and construction of a site. And even more broadly, I can speak to KIC, but I think even in Rwanda more broadly, is that we've seen real estate booming for years. It contributes significantly to GDP, and I know everyone always talks about every time they come to Rwanda, they get lost because there's a new development and that they didn't leave behind. And so here there's a lot of opportunity for very specialized skills, more civil engineers, more electric engineers, architecture, quantity surveyors, project management, but also, structuring real estate deals. You need finance people, you need lawyers. And so there's really a broad range of skill sets that are required. And I think given how the sector is growing, we're not yet seeing enough supply from the Rwandan side. We still see a lot of, so there's definitely a lot more opportunities for the diaspora and for anyone who's in this space to get involved. On the technology side, the tech sector has been growing. It's a lot more vibrant. We see more startups. Alain is also on the call, and with the universities and people from the diaspora coming back, we've seen a lot of junior talent, especially in engineering, in data and analytics, software development, and so on. So this really presents, a lot of great opportunities. If you want to launch your business, there's definitely pools of talent that you can tap into. If you want to be hired, there's more companies that are setting up every day, and so that's another way you can get involved. And then specifically in this area, while we're seeing a lot of junior talent, again, mid-level and senior level talent is still it's still quite low, especially when we think of Rwandan talent. So it's another area where we really encourage you to get involved. And then the last area, which I think would be, for diaspora that could be interested, is, within the startup and tech ecosystem, there's a lot of our startups here need angel investors, they need mentoring. And so one other way you could definitely get involved is connecting with the different incubation programs and the different co-working spaces that are ongoing and accelerators, and providing your skills, hopefully investing in some startups where you really believe in their business and you can help them grow. And that would be as we think about the role that startups will play in helping us not just create jobs, but even grow exports and develop the country overall. We think they're such a critical part of the economy. And a lot of times they need, especially at very early stages, they need people who have experience to mentor them, to invest in them, to support them with connections. So that's another area where, especially for people who have a bit more experience, there's a lot of opportunities to get involved and share your experiences and knowledge and potentially invest. So I'll pause there, but that was just to give you a quick introduction about what we do, where our priorities are, and where we see opportunities for diaspora to plug into the tech talent, and then we can get into more discussions in the Q&A.
Thank you, Tessie, and thank you for all this information. In fact, our next speaker is different from most of the speakers that have spoken. Is Ale Kajangwe, founder and CEO of Wiredin, the company, is just a private sector person. He's not a government official who has to deliver the interventions of the government. He's someone who is doing his work in the private sector. And we are so happy to have Kajangwe. In fact, if you meet diaspora abroad, one of the questions that keeps coming is, how can I come back how can I set up my activities or my initiatives I want to do back home. And we are so happy to have Ale, who has been in diaspora and took a decision to come back and set up in the private sector and runs a very interesting business. I will not speak more about it. He will speak about it himself. So, Mr. Kajangwe, Ale, we are happy to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kadozi. Thank you very much, RDB's CSO office, Elodie, for the invitation. And Dr. Kadozi, thanks for the kind introductions. Even though I'm private sector, I also try to keep track of what's happening in the government so I can, do my contribution. I guess we all Rwandans, we don't have to be in the public sector to actually like what the government is doing and to try and contribute as much as we can. So like Dr. Kadozi said, I'm also diaspora, former diaspora. I've been back in Rwanda since 2011 with stints in the US where I did my and a short stint in Germany as well, where I worked as a software engineer. I'll briefly talk about what then it's a software development company since by trade and training, my software engineer. So I returned to Rwanda and started, co-founded Rwanda software development company with a business partner who's Japanese. Many people will find that a bit surprising, but I'll explain. Software development, as you know, is a global industry. And in most cases, there is a lot of shortages around the world, not only in Rwanda, where we lack a certain number of skills. Software development is actually a very in-demand skill set, so around the world. So in thinking about the business that we could start together, my business partner and I started to work together first, me as a freelance software engineer on some of his projects in Tokyo, Japan. And then we came up to starting a business together 7 years ago now. And the main focus of Rwanda basically is business processing outsourcing, so BPO for some of you who know what BPO is. And we do software work for companies around the world. So we definitely do have clients in Rwanda, but we tend to focus a little bit more on clients. First started with clients in Japan for obvious reasons. It was easier to get business over there with my partner being from Japan. But today we have managed to branch out and put a toehold, I should say, in some other countries in Europe. We have clients in Germany, clients in the Netherlands, in France. We have clients in the US and clients also on the African continent, in Guinea, in Mozambique, and in Benin. Those are people that, those are countries rather, with whom we have managed to do some work. So Wayadin today is made up of 18 developers here in Rwanda, who are all based in Rwanda. We also have a Wayadin Japan branch, and the Wayadin Japan branch mainly focuses on sales in the Japan, in Japan, and also for quality assurance when it comes to Japanese projects. And but the main engineering team is definitely in Rwanda, and it's made up of first and foremost Rwandans, many Rwandans that have actually also been diaspora from the US, from Japan, We do have a number of them that have graduated from institutions in Japan and have come back and now work with us. We have some graduates from universities in Russia, Malaysia, and of course we also don't exclusively hire Rwandans. Whenever we get a chance, there's we do also hire people from the African continent. So we have people from Ethiopia, from Burundi, from Uganda that are also part of our growing team. So as a software developer, there is, of course, I started by introducing what the company is doing, but there is also some products that we do work on locally, and I would like, with the time, if the time allows, and the moderator, of course, allows me, to talk about one that is very important, in my opinion, and very relevant for this discussion today. So having been in the diaspora, of course, for many of you that have been thinking long and hard about making a decision, because I will not going to sit here and say it's an easy one to make. Most likely not anybody will tell you that it's an easy decision to make. There is many, it's a per individual decision, basically. But when I was thinking about my decision to come back home, I kept asking myself, but for those friends of mine with whom I was in school with, who are very brilliant, but who definitely chose to follow careers in the US and in other places where they have graduated, for those people, how could they contribute back if they necessarily don't feel like they're ready to come back home? So we brainstormed with my team, and we came up with, again, as software developer, I'm sure on this event there are people with who are software engineers or even others. You know what Stack Overflow is. Stack Overflow as a platform, right? So there is no software engineer that around the world that doesn't use Stack Overflow, right? So what you do on Stack Overflow is you ask a question. No matter how silly your question is, you will get, you know, sometimes hundreds of replies, right? Some replies will be very off base. Some replies will point you in the right direction, and some replies will be spot on to answer your question, right? So then we started thinking, how could we create a product that, in our case, we called Rebrain. Rebrain, like a choice word for, you know, we have brain drain. So how do you rebrain the continent? So we called our platform Rebraining.Africa, because obviously the problem of the brain drain is not a particularity for Rwanda alone. It's a problem that all countries in Africa are facing at different levels, of course. So we called our platform Rebrain.Africa. So if you go on that URL, you'll find what this platform is. So we started working on it. So in short, what this platform does is to try and match the skill sets in the diaspora with those needs that various institutions have. Like Dr. Ivan said, they have a shortage of skill sets in the mining sector. Hortense mentioned shortages of skills in the finance sector. So what Rebrain would do is to work with local institutions where they'll basically have dedicated pages where they, you know, they have a backend where they post any kind of question. For instance, let's just take an example in the mining sector. Dr. Ivan mentioned that they use some very highly specialized equipments. When one of those equipments get a particular issue, a problem, if we don't have the local skill sets to fix that equipment, what happens? In most cases, you'll start looking around for expatriates to come and fix your problem. I would argue that around the world, we do have many in the diaspora who work for companies maybe that have used such an equipment in the past, or know of people that are using such an equipment. So posting a description of your problem on a platform like this, you would basically be assured to get, literally, depending on how popular or interesting your company is, you'll most likely get hundreds of replies. Definitely some of them will be off base, but you will get some people that will point you in the right direction, maybe telling you you can contact this company. They'll most likely will be able to provide you with a solution without having to bring anyone to come on the ground, help you troubleshoot, and then eventually tell you exactly what your problem is, and then eventually also tell you which spare part you need, for instance, right? So those are things that, and by the way, what we're talking about is not really anything that is new, because what we're talking about here is crowdsourcing, right? And crowdsourcing has been around for years, right? So for instance, I don't know if some of you know about the longitude rewards. That was like in the 1700s, when you would have countries like the British government putting out a request for people that would come up with a solution, a practical solution, an easy solution for ships at sea to find their longitude coordinates, right? And then this was something that was put to the public, and for the public to find a solution. And of course, that solution would come with a prize, right? So eventually something like this platform would also help people in the diaspora be a little bit closer to our institutions, right? And also feel like they are participating in our day-to-day development as a country, right? Without necessarily having to be on the ground. Definitely for those who would eventually make that decision, definitely it is very important to come and lend your hand to everybody who has been part of this journey. And I'll have to assure you, it has been a very rewarding journey, and I wouldn't trade it for a minute, right? I think I made the very right decision a long time ago. And since that time, I haven't looked back. So I'll be happy to connect with you either on LinkedIn. I'll post the URL to the Rebrain platform. You can take a look, register, give us feedback on how we can improve it. And yeah, and I'll be happy to continue discussing with you all. Thank you, Dr. Cuadrille. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you. And I'm happy that you have addressed one of the ongoing questions that keeps coming out. How can digital technology help to transfer skills and technology back home among either business, academicians, different professionals? And I'm happy that such products and innovations are coming up to help the people in the diaspora. I think we are getting into a good session, which I mostly like. Normally, the first session is always structural, formal, and everyone is asking what to deliver. Now this one is a comfortable and relaxed session where you want to hear from the audience. And I'm so happy that the audience has started speaking, though we can't hear their voice, but they are speaking through our chat box. They have started raising questions, and I'm happy that panelists are ready to receive, to address some of these questions. Yeah, I will start with the first question. I think I have almost like 12 questions. So I will start with the first one. And unfortunately, we can't speak all of us, but we'll start one by one. However, I do encourage the speakers to check in the chat box your specific questions. I liked the way participants are addressing questions to specific person. If I could start with the first question addressed to Erodi, where they are asking, how is the government encouraging this and extending it to those in the diaspora willing to be in Rwanda to mentor the youth in existing organizations that we can easily participate in, given our talents and experiences? Probably we can first hear from Chief Skills Officer, then we'll get to the second question. Over to you, Elodie.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kadozi, and thank you for the question. I think you didn't specify the name of the person that asked the question and the city, but what I would like to say is that that's a very good initiative that we can brainstorm on in terms of starting a program, a mentorship program, and linking those with the expertise within their respective sectors to students here, or even other stakeholders who may leverage the expertise from the Rwandans living abroad. So I believe that in RDB, as the skills office, we can definitely support to brainstorm on how this mentorship program can be leveraged on. I think with the support of Minafit, we would want to work with different stakeholders. In fact, there are different stakeholders whom we had interacted with and who thought this would have been a great initiative to start, especially in this time. It could even be virtual or physical once the situation is contained, but it's definitely a great program that we can start. So if we can have your contacts as well, so we could perhaps reach out to you if you had additional ideas, or if this is an initiative you had in mind to try and connect you with the right stakeholders and also to be involved to shape up a program. Thank you.
Thank you, Elodie. Thank you so much. Then we could go to the second question. And maybe something else, I think I would encourage the participants to share your contacts in the chat box, because some of the participants are requesting the contacts of the panelists. So you could share your contacts or your institutional contacts. So the second question goes to Chief of Mission, Alain. How is IOM mission aligned to such events? I think that's what someone raised the question, wanted to know. So I think Eleni can try to clarify this. Ellen?
Sorry, I was on mute. It's
Okay, so did you hear the question?
Yes, I think I heard it, but I'm not really sure if I completely understand this. Sorry.
Yeah, in fact, I think the one who raised the question wanted a clarification on how IOM is aligned to such initiatives of engaging the diaspora and how IOM comes in. I think he tries to understand IOM as an international organization dealing with emergencies, but I think it is wrong.
No, yeah, no, I looked at this question before, and thank you so much for asking. I think this is a very, very valuable question. And yes, I mean, IOM works with migration in a number of different fields. You know, yes, we do emergency in many countries. I think we have a bad, I can hear an echo here. But yes, my diaspora is absolutely something part of our mandate, and labor migration also. So yes, we have a very wide mandate, and migration is a very, very wide, you know, issue. So diaspora definitely fits into IOM. Thank you.
Thank you for the quick and brief answer. Yes, I think the third and fourth question goes to Sandrine, where they are asking how can we reach to the RCA and how can we resurrect Rwanda Day as a virtual event given the current pandemics meetings challenges. So I think he's asking how can Rwanda Day be shifted to virtual considering the current situation of pandemic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kadozi, and thanks, Charles, for your question. I can hear some echoes too, but can you hear me? Is that okay? Yeah. All right. To answer for the on the first question, I think I had put my contact email in the chat room, and also yes, swimbabazi@minafet.gov.rw or RCA Rwanda Community Abroad @minafet.gov.rw or info@minafet.gov.rw. So I can still put them on in the chat room. I guess that's the quickest way to be able to reach us, especially for those who live abroad. And also with this pandemic, we encourage people to use emails because we have a team that is there to respond quickly for any questions related to the Rwanda community abroad services or other initiatives or other questions. For the second question, which is very, very interesting, still from Achille, yes, Karuretwa, is how can you resurrect Rwanda Day as a virtual event given the current pandemic meeting challenges? Before I answer, let me just give you an overview of the key facts about Rwanda Day, as I explained before. So actually, the first Rwanda Day was held in 2010 in Brussels, Belgium. Rwanda Day has been held in Brussels, Chicago, Paris, Boston, London, Toronto, Atlanta, Dallas, Amsterdam, San Francisco, Ghent, Belgium again, and lastly, the one was in Bonn. So it's a big event graced by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Kagame. So we have taken notes about the question. As you know, many events are being held virtually, so we're going to address that to our authorities. But as I mentioned, different cities, if Rwanda Day will be a virtual event, it could be very, very interesting to attend. But we're going to address that to our authority. That's what I can say from now, but please feel free if you have other initiatives and questions, we'll be ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandrine. I think
sorry, I forgot to mention something. Also, did you know that more than 30,000 people so far participated in Rwanda Day? That's a good number though. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandrine. I think we go to the fifth question from Inosanda Gijimana. He's a student of health policy and capacity building from South Korea. He's asking if there is any line opportunities to the public health professionals when they come back to Rwanda after completion of their studies in terms of contribution to the strengthening of Rwanda health system. So I think this question could go both to Allen and the CSO office. So it's LOD. So if we could start with Allen, I think for the program that they are already working with the Ministry of Health, and probably we proceed with the LOD. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Edward. Could you repeat? We have unfortunately a bit of bad connection, so I just got half of a question. I'm very, very sorry about that.
Yes, it's okay, Ellen. So someone, Innocent Ndagijimana, is asking how, for someone who has completed his study is in a health policy and capacity building, how they can contribute mostly to the health sector if they come, when they come back.
Okay, no. As I mentioned in my presentation, we currently have this initiative for the health sector, and this is a very, very wide initiative. We are looking for a number of different health professionals. So I'm very, very happy that this person is interested in the program. We have also shared to everyone how you can apply for this initiative. As I mentioned in my presentation, unfortunately, currently the program is just open for diaspora living in Europe. But if a person lives in Europe, we have highlighted how the person can contact us. I have also shared our general IOM address. But yes, as I said in my presentation, the second round for this health initiative is going to be launched in 1 or 2 weeks, and then the person should just apply. I think that's the easiest. Thank you so much.
And if I could go ahead and compliment Helen, just to thank Innocent for your question, and just to clarify that there's definitely opportunities for public health professionals, whether it's through the Ministry of Health, the Rwanda Biomedical Center, RBC, or even public hospitals and clinics across the country. I think what I can recommend to you is that you reach out to the different staffing agencies in the country. We have a few, but readily available to support in linking you to these opportunities. There's NFT Consult, there's Q Sourcing, there's Right Seat, there's Bridge to Rwanda, and there's also Jobs in Rwanda. And even please look at our Quora job portal. We hope that we can be posting more opportunities as we upgrade the system, but I would also advise that you leverage the LinkedIn platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Elodie. Yeah, I think the sixth question goes to Tessie. What are the existing channels that allow the Rwandan community abroad to be involved in the development and implementation of the national policies, programs that support technology and the knowledge transfer? Obviously, Elodie could complement, but Tessie, I think, could start by addressing this question.
Thank you, Edward. It's a very it's a very broad question, but I'll try and summarize some of the ways. So I think the first one, which I had mentioned, was around supporting startups directly. Which could be either as a mentor, which can be as an investor. And there we're happy to connect you with some of the different programs that exist today, so that you can connect with like the incubators and accelerators, so you can have direct access to these startups and start to build those connections. I think the second area is just like similar to other industries. It's staying in touch, staying abreast of what's happening, of trends, being connected with all these recruitment platforms, updating your LinkedIn. I think people will be surprised how much a lot of people use LinkedIn to source for talent, but also to post news and other developments, because what it allows you to do is to know what's going on, what are the priorities, use those different platforms to know what skills are required. And then the last one is, I would say maybe specifically within KIC, with the institutions that we have, like Carnegie Mellon and Ames and so on, depending on where you are in your career, they've been looking for faculty, for professors, especially people who are willing to relocate if you're in the academia space. If you want to do graduate programs, they also offer those. So people who are looking to upskill and want to actually get a world-class education here in Rwanda instead of traveling, because you're also able to have an education that is a bit more contextualized for the environment that you're in versus, when you have and yet which is to the standards that you would find globally. So there's really a lot of different initiatives, but I'll also let others chime in.
Thank you, Tessa. Thank you so much. I think if Elodie has something to compliment.
Yeah, and Edward, I also have some other questions in the chat. So I don't know if you want me to answer them now or if you'll come back to them.
You could proceed. Yes, go ahead and address them. It's okay.
Okay. I think there was a question from Ashil about, he had asked specifically about KIC and for a startup who wants to get involved, whether we have the current infrastructure in place. And I had responded that we're still in pre-construction for the office spaces and incubators. So we only have the universities right now, but we're happy to connect you to other programs and partners that we have who have either co-working spaces, incubators, and so on, so that those startups are able to come in and easily plug into communities of other entrepreneurs and other innovators that exist today. And then there was another question that came on, there are 4 questions around innovation and financing and patenting. So maybe I'll just cover those right now. So we're really, the question was from, and I can't recall the name, Jean Bosco. And so on the question around what RDB is doing in promoting innovative ideas or inventions and prototyping. So we've been focusing on making sure that there's enough infrastructure. So I talked about the startups and incubator programs and accelerators that exist. And we can easily share a list of those, but also ensuring that there's more patient capital for startups, especially at early stages. So this is even more at a government-wide level. The National Council of Science and Technology has a grant fund for research and innovation at very early stages, usually to support companies that are prototype stages. Then through the different entrepreneurship programs, you can get both technical support and some grant funding. For example, we've recently been working with the ICT Chamber and other partners on a FinTech accelerator where we selected startups competitively, and we're not only providing technical support, access to mentors and so on, but also grant funding at the end of the program, and then trying to then build connections for them with other venture capitalists. Overall, the focus is really on increasing the amount of patient capital from ideation stage to growth stage right now, and working to bring more venture capital firms and also understanding what they're looking for in startups so we can position more companies here to be able to attract equity type investment, especially for innovation where it's quite critical. Another example of what has been done is the Ministry of ICT and Innovation has been piloting some innovative procurement methods so that you're helping startups get their first customers. Sometimes the best kind of funding is actually a customer paying you. So for example, they've used hackathons. If you visit the current gov.rw website, that was done through a hackathon to source a startup that build the platform instead of doing a regular tender, which has all sorts of requirements that would usually keep startups out of the process. So this is something that has been piloting, and now we're all working closely together to understand how we can actually make it more mainstream in how procurement is done, so that innovative companies and younger companies have access to support, have access to ready market. And then on your question on IP, there's a Registrar General's office at the Rwanda Development Board. Typically, they wouldn't get involved in, the IP policies of your university that's outside of Rwanda, but locally they're working with universities and research institutions so that they can have clear IP policies, but they can also provide technical support if required to Rwandans who are abroad as well. if they want to understand how they can file for international patents. So I think the team at Skills who've organized this can also help connect anyone who has more questions with the Registrar General's office, if you have any IP related questions. Edward, I think that was it. So
yeah, thank you, Tessie. Yes, thank you, Tessie. So I had a question. I have a question here that cuts across all panelists. And I like this question because when you talk of brain gain, skills transfer from diaspora, yeah, I normally call it that diaspora are rational beings. They have to balance both sides. So there is a question about return, my short-term return migration, which is, I didn't get his or her name. It's about someone who wants to contribute back without not necessarily returning permanently. And he gave an example in obviously from in professional activities, but he does this assignment remotely. He gave example freelancer, consulting, and others. And if you remember in the opening remarks of Dr. Ivan, he shared his experience. And I would wish to start with Dr. Ivan, let alone I'll go to Otans. And here I would wish to be specific in your field, in your area. Then I will hear from, again, from Ale in your fields, because even Ale talked about that area. So, Dr. Ivan, if someone wants really to contribute in the area of energy, mining, geology, either in consultants, freelancing, obviously you talked about research. Research, you don't need it on the ground always. So how can he or she partner with the mining and petroleum and subsector into this area? So you could advise that as someone who did it even previously.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Edward. First of all, there are many programs. If you don't want to come back immediately and settle in Rwanda, there are many programs helping people to do so. We had MIDA for people who are on the European Union, but we had also another program which was called Top 10 or Top 10, if I remember. It was a UNDP program, and this one was wide. So there are many kind of programs. You can look for one or the program depending on where you are, which allows people to come for 6 weeks. Select an institution where you can come and give your expertise. That's an option. The second option now, given that social media, internet, websites works properly, is to do your own research online and connect immediately with government institution, depending on the skills you have, or even private sector companies for an internship or a short-term program when you are in Rwanda for holiday. So all those options are available. You can also use the platform like this one we have today. We shared the contacts here online depending on the skills you're looking for. Then contact people after this platform and try to create your own network. Sometimes the biggest mistake people in the diaspora does, you wake up one day and you say, I want to go to Rwanda, but it requires to prepare. You have to prepare for that. You have to prepare a network for you to land on an opportunity. And today, the younger generation have even more platform than us, because at that time, I came back in Rwanda in 2007. At that time, we didn't have internet working properly. The data was not online. So for you today, you just go on Google and you start doing your research, and it's easy. You link up with RDB, the Chief Skills Office, and many other. You have job in Rwanda for some applications, for consultancy, for different kind of vacant position in institution. So today, I think there is no excuse. It's just a personal homework. you link up with people and you will end up getting something. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I think as I know that Rwanda Finance is doing a lot. I know that one of the strategies you identified of skills gap. So if someone wants to work remotely, can that one be possible with finance sector?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kadozi, and thank you for that question. I think currently what has been happening in terms of short-term consulting or long-term consulting opportunities, really, every association of the financial sector, whether bankers, whether insurance, they have been undertaking those opportunities and to promote them where they have been. In the case of Rwanda Finance, really, what we are keen to do, which I believe would also be helpful for the person who asked the question, is be able to more of consolidate these employment opportunities and information. Because right now it's the different entities that sort of undertake promotion or identification of their opportunities. And currently what we're trying to do is to try and see how we can consolidate internship or job opportunities. And also on our end, as we attract investors, there is a need that they will express for employment or for people to recruit. And what we do, we're establishing a database with the different recruitment firms where we can be able to at least send the opportunities out for them to be able then to post and connect to people who can be able to identify and find out more of that information. So we're looking at different avenues for that through partnership with recruitment firms to share more of the opportunities that we come across. Number two, also as part of the bigger initiative around the Kigali International Financial Center, we want to be able to put in place internship or fellowship programs where at least on a regular basis, the diaspora or anyone interested to contribute their skills will be able to apply and get more information on these opportunities. So I would really encourage anyone who is interested to reach out to us. I'll be able also to share more on our contact information, either through email or through our social media channels, to be able to allow us to share more information on that. I know this question was particularly specific to consulting opportunities, as well as freelance opportunities. I myself have been a consultant before, so I do relate and understand with that. And I think what has been common practice is for you to look out on the job portals, number one, and also to be part of a database where you have the referrals and access to this information. So I think it would be great to leverage those in the future. And they can reach out to us at skills@rfl.rw for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Stans. Maybe it would be good to share that email on the chat box so that people can take the email. I think I'll be happy to hear from Ale. Yeah, the IT technologists that would be interested either to work in the private sector or to work privately on some of these areas, either in consultants, freelancing, and all this.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So with obviously with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of things have been have been shambled in a way, right? And usually I would have said, yes, we do give those short-term freelance opportunities within our company for software developers. Like I said, we do hire people not exclusively also from Rwanda. We have had a couple of developers join us from Guinea a few years back. And today, obviously, with the pandemic, it has made it very clear that working remotely is definitely possible, and people can still be very productive that way. So short answer for me, yes. I mean, your CV and you match well with the current team, please do. If you're interested, you can first visit our website, see what we do at Rwanda, and then if you're a software developer, unfortunately, that's what we do in this company. But I'll definitely be happy to look at the CV, keep it on file, and then get in touch with whoever might be interested to join us, not only as a freelancer, but maybe even for a long-term relationship with us while working remotely. But I would also encourage very much my fellow panelists. I mean, maybe I'll put Hortense and Dr. Ivan on the spot right here and ask them if they can allow me to present the opportunities that how we can work together within Rebrain framework, where they can see whether it would be a platform where some of the people with the kind of skills that they're looking for could be contributing first and on a very low level, short questions, short answers type of situation, and then from there, and again on the Rebrain platform as well. I mean, we do hold for those who want to share it with us. We do hold people's CVs and profiles, so institutions definitely have access to those, and they can pick and choose those that they think they can continue working with. And yeah, so but to specifically answer your question, at Rwanda, yes, this is definitely something that can be done. It doesn't have to be physical work. I mean, physical presence.
Yep. Thank you so much, Ale. Two things I would encourage diaspora talents on this question. One, try to get to be informed about different developments in your area back in Rwanda. Second, now recruitments, whether freelancing, consultants, and whatever, is going digital. So I would encourage diaspora to update and use their LinkedIn profiles. Now recruiters are recruiting through LinkedIn. So if you could update and make sure that your LinkedIn profile is active with your CVs, and really you express or you highlight that one of the countries of interest to work in is Rwanda, then the information will be shared with the recruiters back in Rwanda. So yeah, we are running short of time. I just wanted to hear Elodie to help us answer one of the questions. What is the contribution of RDB to help students abroad in imparting their inventions internationally? The problem of, for instance, when students request a patent via university here, 20% of the students goes to the university instead of returning to at least Rwandan investor. I think this is more of a question on investment. And sorry, and I'm happy that we on this call we do have our colleague from investment department, Adeline. I think you might have got this question. If you could help us address this question of patent from diaspora. So I had another question for Elodie. Maybe we can first hear from Adeline. If we want, I can repeat the question. Adeline, are you there? The question of patent.
I think I can come in here, jump in here. There's an intellectual, there's an IP, intellectual property office at Rwanda Development Board. And if we could have the contacts of the participant who has asked this question, and we shall also share the contacts of the IP office for you to get in touch directly and they can support you in terms of more information on how to acquire that patent. Otherwise, if Adeline is on the call, she could expand more on this. Over to you, moderator.
Yeah, thank you, Elodie. If maybe you could proceed by answering also this question that was addressed to you. If there is any platform that addresses the lack of information on both sides, in Rwanda and diaspora, probably could be asking some of the platforms like Cola and others.
Sure, Kadozi. I think I touched on it in the beginning. We do have a couple of tools and platforms available, developed by the Skills Office. We have the Kora Job Portal, and I explained that this is a job seeker portal where we try to connect job seekers and employment opportunities. That's one. We also have a platform we're developing known as the Labor Market Information System. And this will be a platform where we'll be able to share statistics about the labor market dynamics and also any other additional information that could be useful in terms of job opportunities, labor markets, analytics, and also different interventions by stakeholders within the skills development and employment promotion ecosystem. So once we launch this labor market information system, we know it as LMIS, we'll make sure to share it on our Skills Rwanda brand, which is through Twitter or even through the RDB website under the Skills tab, where you can be able to have more information and useful information for you to make timely decisions. I hope that was useful. So I shared two main platforms, Kora Job Portal and the Labor Market Information System, as well as, of course, LinkedIn, which is a partnership we have been having for now 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Elodie. I think I had a question that came earlier about, I think it was addressed to Sandrine, someone about how to legalize forms for bank accounts. And I know that this service is done by Minafit in collaboration with the Bank of Kigali. So someone is asking, how can you facilitate the process? Because the process seems to be encountering challenges that are blocking Rwandan diaspora who would want to invest in Rwanda, especially in stock market. Some solution can be envisioned how to proceed to discuss. I think if we could have this question, Sandrine, to address this question.
Okay, yes, thank you, Dr. Kadozi. Yeah, I think it's two. There are two questions he might be looking forward to be answered. One was for the legalization of the document, and it looks like also he talked about a form.
Yes.
Yes. So actually, we coordinate with many banks here in Rwanda. So there are forms. The Bank of Kigali, they provide like forms for people who are interested to open a bank accounts, and for Rwandan community living abroad, for diaspora also. They are inquired to come to our office so we can just recognize that they live abroad, so that they can be able to be facilitated, because there are other interesting opportunities that Baker or could provide for them. So this is easy now. There's a way that people can also apply online. From that, after the application, they can send us an email and via our embassies and requesting the facilitation of the legalization, and they will be very happy to assist in the legalization. And also, speaking about the banks, I would like also to inform inform you that we coordinate with many banks. They have banks such as Beka, Equity, INM. They have actually opened some nice products for them in order for the diaspora community to keep enjoying all these opportunities. There are some are opening like, let's say, for example, saving opportunities. I think Baker has this opportunity called Aguka Fund, so that we are that is in the pipeline. We would like to engage and communicate to the Rwandan community, and we're working with that with the Rwanda Finance. And I know that Equity also has their own products. INM, some banks have started to visit our Rwandans living abroad. So it's working very well. So I would encourage them to just go on their websites to any bank that they're interested in, find out those products catered for the diaspora, and just apply. If there is a problem, kindly reach out to us, but I will recommend to reach out first to your nearest embassy or reach out to us, so we'll be able to facilitate. So there's no problem for legalization. We understand with this COVID-19 safety measures, it's now easy, but there will be somehow a good facilitation from our office. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandrine. Of course, panelists and participants, you will excuse me because time is not on our side, and they would wish to maybe to stop from here. Though we still have questions, we will do our endeavor.
Sorry,
Yes.
Sorry, Dr. Kadozi, sorry. There were some key questions, I believe, for me on the chat group. I'd like to answer just two of them or some of them, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, for the sake of time, just to provide some clarity. And so there were several questions around how to connect with us and provide more information. I have shared our contacts via email as well as social media. I've shared those on the chat. But there were questions around, I believe, the plan that we have in terms of increasing knowledge management or upskilling professionals. So number one, Rwanda Finance represents the financial sector. That's as a first. And we already have a strategy in place on how to do that. It's a 5-year plan we have in place. Number one, what we've started with is identifying the critical skill sets of where the gaps are. And really what we have come to see is that they are in financial management, investment management, tax advisory, and accounting, as well as more technology-oriented skill sets in terms of data analysts, cybersecurity professionals, and fintech. And there's also a key need around the area of compliance, financial compliance. So those are in terms of the focus right now that we are trying to fill, those are the ones. And how we are going about this really is more of a partnership approach. For the areas where we do not have programs in place, we are partnering with international stakeholders to be able to provide these courses, such as a case of compliance, as well as capital market-oriented programs that we've already initiated through the International Compliance Association, or that the Capital Markets Authority is already initiating through the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments. And the other way now we're doing, which is actually applies to the diaspora, is in now connecting with you to be able now to share opportunities for employment, where we receive the interest from the investors. There was also a question on, I believe it came from, a question towards the end that came from Erwin Loop, trying to understand what are the different strategies or targets or timeframe that we have for attracting financial institutions and professionals. So currently we have developed a 5-year strategic plan. We have already set out key investors that we want to promote or attract. Right now, the focus is on investment fund management, multilateral corporations who want to set up global, their holding companies here, as well as firms in global trading and fintech. And in terms of targets, we have already started the process. We hope that by the end of 5 years, we will be able to have attracted about 200 new financial actors and institutions into the ecosystem. And the strategies for which we are going about that is a lot of investment promotion. We are creating strategic relations and partnerships with other financial centers to be able to allow us to have mutual recognition and to be able to share and showcase the opportunities and to connect with interested professionals who would want to set up shop. And the other strategy that we are using is through the partnership with the Chief Skills Office, for example, where we want to be able to tap into the portals, the job portals and opportunities, as well as the networking events, to be able to share with you opportunities for employment, as well as career advancement. And I'll be very happy to share more information with you if you could connect us through the email or email skills@rfl.rw. So thank you so much, and thank you, Dr. Cuadrille.
Thank you so much, thanks, and I think that was good information to share. I think if you would allow me, we could stop here, but before I highlight some of the concluding takeaways and invite Chief Skills Officer to deliver her concluding remarks, I would wish to request the participants who raised the questions to write their emails in the chat box, so that if you have one of your questions that were not answered, you write your question, your email in the chat box. We will do our best to respond to these questions after this event. So going back through all the conversations we have been having and the presentations, I would wish to highlight some of the takeaways for both sides we could explore that have come out of this discussion. One takeaway is that we need to explore the short-term return programs that would enable diaspora talents and experts to collaborate with institutions back home on short-term exercises or assignments. Second, organizing such events, whether specific events to the specific sectors. So we will keep working on this. Diaspora were encouraged to keep exploring and looking for the information back home based on the target institutions or companies they are interested in. We need to develop platforms or initiatives that would improve information sharing on both sides. I think if the initiatives could come from RDB or other institutions or from diaspora, that would be a good initiatives. I think institutions needed to put their information that they find diaspora could be interested in or could contribute in on their websites, so that they get information, get accessed. Then diaspora talents were encouraged to use social media and the platforms like LinkedIn, so that they are able to be reached by the recruiters back home or get more information. So we needed to support diaspora talents or graduates to get internships in Rwanda. So those who are graduating or planning to graduate. So diaspora, the second to the last, so diaspora needed to, or were encouraged to participate in the diaspora mapping exercises. That's when we shall, the government of Rwanda, in collaboration with the IOM, will be able to get the needs and information of diaspora. So there were also need for exploring possibilities of joint collaboration of diaspora with the local organizations or companies. I think others probably are more, but these are one of the takeaways I noted down. So without further ado, I will be happy to welcome Elodie to deliver your concluding remarks. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and thank you for participating.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kadozi. I was actually typing in the chat box. I wanted to compliment you on how we could address the many questions that may not have been tackled. I can hear some background noise, but I was suggesting that any panelists who may have comments or questions that was not addressed, or any other contributions that you would like to share, to please reach out to the respective institutions. Most of the panelists have shared their contact information, so please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll make sure to revert back. So I would like to really take this opportunity to thank you all so much for attending this conference on engaging all of you Rwandans living abroad. It has been our pleasure to share with you opportunities available in our respective portfolios, and we're especially glad to have shared with you information that may not have been available to you otherwise. The Skills Office is very grateful to all the panelists for sharing their valuable information and making this an insightful and fruitful session. We may not have addressed all your questions, like I mentioned, but we're happy to receive your questions, comments directly in our inboxes. You could reach out to any of us really, or any of our offices. And I would also like to inform you all that we shall be having a series of these sessions. So please be on the lookout for more of these with different interesting panelists who will participate and will be happy to engage with you. And we have now come to an end of this conference, and we hope that you have found this to be a very insightful session. We hope you've gotten a lot of information from it, but we also hope that we can learn more from you. I think together we can come up with better and more interventions to reach our ultimate goal of developing our country. So thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.